Hello, everybody. This is Clint Macro and Jim Stoker with Firearms Owners Against Crime Institute podcast. This is going to be our end of the year wrap up. We just wanted to take a little bit of time to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and or Happy Holidays, as well as just kind of update you on kind of what we've gone over this last year. It's been a busy year. Talk about some of the things we have on the burner for next year. So, Jim, Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Merry Christmas to you, brother. Huh? I haven't seen you in an hour.
Yeah, we just got done Meet the Pressers. Actually, I still have my shirt on. We just did a Christmas wrap up, and Jim came on and spoke a little bit on that. That was a marathon broadcast. We did a live show, but here we
A lot of
are
fun.
doing the wrap up for FOAC.
Yeah, it's important. We've done a lot this year. We've had a lot going on.
Yeah, the court cases. We've got lots of preemption violations going
Yeah,
on, and
as
spending money
always.
on that. Lots of I can't imagine most people understand how many miles you've put on crossing the state, whether that be doing classes or just visiting Harrisburg to talk to legislators or elected officials or appointed officials.
Yeah, thank
You
God
care
for
to,
reward points at hotels, huh?
yeah, can you care to guess how many miles you put on traveling for FOAC this year?
I know my truck's got another probably 30,000 on it this year from last year, and since retiring from my job, it's almost all vast majority of it's definitely FOAC. I'm afraid to submit the turnpike tolls. I'm worried about what it's going to do to our treasury.
Yeah, well, we do have the most expensive road in the country, I guess. The
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Turnpike. It's pretty crazy.
Thank
Um,
God, huh? Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
we've been busy. So I mean, you and I've obviously you've joined me for a lot of this stuff. I guess some highlights for everybody would be we had a meeting with the Attorney General, a good sit down with AG Dave Sunday, where we were able to make him aware of some of our issues dealing with the PA Museum, PennDOT in particular now passing their own regulations on firearms in their offices, which obviously we can't permit. It's actually a misdemeanor offense in Pennsylvania. It's a violation of the state law for them to do so. But DHS, under Shapiro, does what they want to do. And so we've had very little luck in legislation fixing that because obviously the House isn't going to move for us on those types of topics, and then the governor can veto. So there's not a legislative move to be had there. But getting the Attorney General on board with actually enforcing the state laws, which interestingly enough, if you remember, the conversation started with him explaining the role of the AG's office is to enforce the state laws as written. So
imagine that.
yeah, we should be moving forward with that stuff. I know they've been busy with the whole fentanyl thing and all that, but he does stay in touch, and we text fairly often. So I take that as a positive sign. You went with me. We did our testimony in front of the Senate on strengthening preemption, how critical that is. The number of preemption violations. I mean, geez, I'm looking at my list here. It's 160 some municipalities, I believe we're up to, that have violations of preemption. I actually got two different messages on Facebook this morning, pointing out two more that are coming in Beaver County, where uh, apparently these municipalities just either unaware. I think a lot of times they're unaware. We ran into that one in Beaver County where every member of their planning commission was a FOAC or NRA member,
Yep.
and they had no idea they were violating it. They thought they were doing something that was good for their community. And there was an example of a community we could go to their meetings and talk with them, and they reversed course and pulled that out of their ordinances. But there's just so much to
Matter
do.
of fact, one of the people that was a part of that their board or their I'm having a little bit of a
Their
brain fart here.
supervisors.
They're one of their supervisors. Actually, they attended one of my seminars at our annual meeting. It was kind of interesting. But yeah, I'd spoke to him and he's like, we just didn't even know that we were violating the law. And when Jim told us about it, we are like, oh, we don't want to do that. And so they
Yeah.
fixed the problem.
Yeah, I think they feel like they get caught in the middle of trying to deal with private complaints in certain neighborhoods, and they think they're doing something that's going to make it better for everybody. Not realizing, one, they are violating the law, but two, the negative impact it has on gun owners. They're unaware that there are people that shoot on their property that may now be in violation because their district's agricultural, however they label it in
Mm.
their zoning ordinance. So we were able to get that sorted out. I've got a laundry list here if anybody wants to volunteer to step up and attend some of these meetings, but we've got all kinds of them to go after. And the issue there is always going to be funding. It's if the state doesn't enforce that preemption statute, which the district attorney's office often choose not to. Then it comes down to civil litigation, which costs tens of thousands of dollars. So again, we've talked about this numerous times. We're spending grassroots money to fight our own tax money. Um,
And
so
it's amazing how much money these cities, especially the bigger cities in Pennsylvania, the amount of money they spend to just know that they're going to lose at the end of the day, provided they don't outspend us, and just to be have that level of hubris to say, yes, we're breaking the law, but we don't care. That
Harrisburg's,
to me, I take that personal, man. It's like if I announced I was going to break the law and I just did it, like I would be charged with a crime for that.
yeah.
Why is it that these people feel that they are above the law and quite frankly get to be above the law when they spend taxpayer money or when they get free advice and legal counsel from like every town and
I don't think the media engages on our side of the argument as well. Like the local media, I think there's a hesitance to, you know, annoy the local government. Sometimes they're afraid they'll get shut out on other projects or things. So, for instance, Harrisburg, we know they've spent over $100,000 fighting for 5 ordinances that we have already known from higher courts to be illegal.
Mhm.
And they spent the money anyway. We beat them. They actually, well, they won one in a sense that the judge said, well, I'm not going to put an injunction against it because you claim you've never enacted it. But if you were to enact it, it would be preempted. And then they were going to appeal the other four. So we appealed that one. They withdrew their appeal, but they continue to fight for that ordinance. They just paid another attorney to go into Commonwealth Court to fight for the ordinance. Pay the $2,000 and advertise repealing it and be done. Meanwhile, they're $100,000 in the hold of their law firm paying for this, you know, and for what? For ordinances they can't enforce. So we see that, and I don't think the media in Harrisburg is taking that information and running out there to say, hey, look, this is what our mayor is doing. This is what our council is doing. They're wasting our tax money fighting for things that higher courts have already said are illegal. And I'll be honest with you, the Lower Merion, we've got that case with Grant Schmidt down at Shot Tech, where they tried to restrict him with his FFL, completely illegal move. And they're using zoning law to do it, which I'll give them points for creativity. But they lost that case in court. A right to know request has shown they spent over $90,000 already on that.
Wow.
We've only been in court for a couple times on it, which is, for a lot of folks that aren't aware, it's relatively short for a court case. And now they're talking about appealing it to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court because they want to use zoning law to restrict firearms in their community. Will the Supreme Court take that argument up? I'd be surprised. Maybe they come up with some nuance in zoning law where they're saying that field preemption isn't what we think field preemption is, or the court should change its mind. But the money that gets wasted in tax dollars on this stuff, and we laugh, we tease about Josh Shapiro having a $3 million media team that comes out of our tax money every year to go out and basically run for president instead of do his job as governor. Imagine how much further that money could go if it went to people that needed it, and different projects and programs we have across the state, or hell, fix some of the potholes on that expensive turnpike. There's things we can do out there with that money that it just gets pissed away, and it's so frustrating sometimes. But that's where we got to step up.
Yeah, well, I mean, we take on that torch. That's something that Kim started years ago when he and the other guys formed FOAC, and I think you've taken that torch and run really well with it, man. I greatly appreciate what you're doing here and your leadership.
Thank you.
So the preemption violations, that's the thing. And we also had an opportunity to, when you testified, to maybe advance some strengthened preemption legislation, which is a big lift when it comes to getting through the House. That legislation is basically the verbiage that was written by us from the previous bill that passed the House and Senate. Is that correct?
Yeah, the same bill that Wolf vetoed. When was it? 2021, maybe, when we had constitutional carry passed and we got strengthening preemption passed, and Wolf vetoed it, of course, with the big rubber stamp. It's going to be a challenge to get it through the House. They're going to want to bury it in committee. My guess will be they'll put it in Judiciary Committee, where you got Briggs and all those far left-leaning anti-constitutionalists. The folks that get in there and they just shut it down. and they're not worried about it because their districts over there are essentially anti-gun districts. They feel very safe. So we do what we can. We run some ads, and we try to put some pressure on some legislators to make that happen. And of course, there's a new rule in the House that forces you can pass a resolution with 25 legislators to push it out of committee. I think we could get that done. But what we're seeing with some other bills that the Democrats are trying to keep from reaching the floor to a vote, they just keep assigning it to a new committee every time it gets pushed back out. So it gets pushed out of legislative, they'll move it into local government. It gets pushed out of that, maybe they move it into appropriations, or they'll make up some nonsense about it being health related or something along that line. They'll just put it into another committee, and then you have to keep fighting that fight. So that's going to be an uphill climb. And then even then, does Shapiro veto it? I think they'll do everything they can from keep it from getting to him, because the guy obviously has sites outside of Pennsylvania, and they don't
Yeah.
want a 2A vote on him. If he gets an opportunity to run on a Democrat ticket for that big office, they don't want to have us throw a 2A challenge against him. So
Yeah.
I think they're trying to remain a little ambiguous on that for him.
Yeah,
But
I never met the governor, but everyone I know that has worked with him all say that it's pretty obvious he's had sights on the White House since he got into politics. One interesting thing, though, you know, uh, with the strength and preemption, I mean, let's just it's Christmas time, so we'll make a Christmas wish. If that were ever to make it through the House and the Senate, there was a time when it went through last time, he actually, as Attorney General, kind of spoke favorably about it as a rule of law type person. So I'd be curious to see what would happen if that actually did hit his desk, especially with him running for higher office. Would he be willing to veto that? I mean, it's interesting. Politics is such a fascinating thing to me. And as we learn more, at least as I learn more about like the inside baseball or the reindeer games that takes place in the legislature on how bills are run, it's fascinating the tricks that are played, the ploys that are had. Rebecca Schmoy was on our Meet the Pressers show, and she's a representative in Kansas, and she was talking about how she put forth a couple really big pro-gun bills in the legislature, and it just happened to be that day one of the other legislators picked a fight with another one, and it caused this big kerfuffle to take place, and they actually sent everyone back to caucus, and her bills never came up. She was never able to talk about it. And I said, I bet that was on purpose.
was it
I bet
planned drama?
leadership, I bet leadership said, go out there, pick a fight with this guy because you know he will, and it's going to
Yep.
shut the day down so these bills don't come up. I
Yep.
wouldn't put it past the political system to say that might have been a purposeful act. I don't know. Who
Well, and if
knows?
I were a betting man, I mean, if we were to talk about Senate Bill 822 here and the odds of it getting in, let's say we do manage to push it to a floor vote, and we do manage to get one of the 2A fraud legislators to vote with us on that one because they're worried about us running things against them. Shapiro's going to veto it. I understand what
You'd
you're saying
say,
about his previous history. Yeah, but here's the problem. And this is a problem for that party. We don't see any pro-gun representatives, legislators, senators in that party anymore. And the ones that are, we see the games that get played in the background with constitutional votes and whatnot to try to make them appear pro 2A, when in fact they're doing an awful lot of damage to the Second Amendment here. And I think what you would see is he would be forced to veto that bill. Because if not, if that law gets passed, all these games that get played all the way down that structure, everything that gets done in all the cities and all the counties and all the things that are being done to leverage those down ballot positions, which we've seen they've had a lot of success doing,
yeah.
that all goes away because now they start losing big money paying out to organizations like us coming in and slapping them for these violations. And so they in the time it would take, the vote it would take, the effort it would take to overturn that and flip it back, I don't think they'd be able to do it. So I think that they would risk him vetoing that bill to keep it from happening and hope that it doesn't get presented in a big enough 2A light that it hurts them on a bigger scale.
Well, strengthening preemption bill would certainly rob, well, frankly, the anti-gun forces, which right now happen to be the Democratic Party, would rob them of the opportunity to kind of poke the fence to look for weakness. That's kind of what they're doing because file these, they know they're going to lose, but if they were able to win and get some court precedent set, that could really damage things moving forward, as we've seen in Philadelphia, which that case right now with GOA that we helped write the amicus brief in support of them to help fight that in the Supreme Court. Do you know where that one's at? Have any clue?
Yeah, we're still waiting for the Supreme Court to hear it. GOA filed their appeal. Not to be overly critical, but I think they had some missteps in the lower court, and it got us where we are, and it's detrimental. So they did the right thing. They're filing the appeal. We filed in conjunction with Second Amendment Foundation and the NRA, all in the same bill, Allegheny County Sportsman's League. We all filed an amicus together, using Josh Prince to get that pushed forward to fight, but we're in limbo till the state Supreme Court says they're going to hear it. They did move on a state Supreme Court. I'll give them credit. They did move on a bill for us, our lawsuit from, I think it's 4 years ago now or 5 years ago now against the state police for the delays in background checks. The Commonwealth Court erringly threw the case out, stating that qualified immunity applied for the state police. And the Supreme Court here in PA surprisingly voted that the Commonwealth Court was wrong and said that they needed to hear the case, that we had the standing, that the state police had lost qualified immunity when they knowingly violated the statute, which was our argument all along, and sent it back to the Commonwealth Court to be reviewed. Haven't heard a word since then. But it's good to get those victories, to say, hey, look, you're not going to be able to just pawn this one off and say, oh, no, never mind. Even though that problem has largely been fixed across the state, I wonder if the threat of that suit disappeared, would our delays in our background checks come back? I mean, we see what's happening with the license to carry, or even what we're seeing with some of the sheriffs. It kind of builds that conversation out, I suppose, that 67 sheriffs here. We have 67 counties, and the vast majority of them are very pro 2A. They're very cooperative. They're actually helpful with our organization. But we know there are a handful out there that just, they don't think the Second Amendment applies in their county, or they feel that it's a secondary right somehow, and they do what they want. And we've had some battles with some. We got 14 counties that refused to do non-resident licensing. We got that fixed. And now in some of the more recent interactions, we've had some that are asking for secondary forms of identification, which they're not allowed to ask for. They're asking for references still, which we got the state police to fix that in 2024. We had the entire license to carry form has changed, so references are optional. Your employment information is optional. Some sheriffs out there apparently still feel it's their prerogative to decide what is required and what is not. So we've had some issues with that. The Montgomery County Sheriff obviously being one, but those are the fights that we have that are important, I think, to the people of Pennsylvania, and so that's why we keep moving forward on them. I guess that's where our strength comes in when it comes opposed to the national organizations, is we are focused so much just on PA that very little gets by without us catching it and moving to act on it. And sometimes it's done with large organizations, but the bulk of what we do legislatively is just us. It's a bunch of volunteers like you and me, and doing some fundraising and putting it together. So the fundraising is going to be more and more critical. Like I said, we've got our gun bash coming up. We were talking about that a little bit ago. March 14th is our spring gun bash. Those tickets are on sale at 2apa. Well, we got to go right now to the website, FOAC-ILLEA.org, FOAC-ILLEA.org. Go there and click on the gun bash tab and buy the tickets there for the March 14th event.
It makes a great Christmas present.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
They won't be mailed out to you in time, but you'll get a receipt.
And also after Christmas, when you know how much money you have left, or if you get a Christmas card that's got some cash in it, then you can use that money to buy more gun bash tickets. And then you can come join us. Yeah, come join us.
Well, that's a fun day, right? We give away roughly anywhere up to around $70,000 worth of firearms.
Yeah, very good guns too. This is not a gun show that's filled with high points and.
yeah. I go through and hand pick them. We spend some time hand picking what we put out there. So, and I'm a snob when it comes to guns, so that makes it a lot of fun to go, make sure we're putting a good product out there.
Yeah, it's such a good time, man, and I'm very honored to be the MC. So if you like the sound of my voice, you can come listen to me call numbers all day long.
You do a great job.
That's the gun bashes are our two biggest fundraisers that we put on, but we're always looking for donations. It's an all volunteer organization, so you can donate on the website as well. And with that said, in the new year, we've made a huge investment to kind of up the game of our digital footprint, and we purchased a new program, a new service that we're going to have a brand new website We'll still have our old website as an archive for you folks to go in and then dig in and get some of the information that we have in there, like voting records, things like that. But we're going to have a new footprint. We'll be able to do those. A lot of people have asked, hey, can you do one of those one click where I can send my legislator this letter? When we do a call to action, we'll be able to have that functionality and a whole lot more. So we're really investing in that and look forward to having a brand new digital footprint moving forward. And as you mentioned, the website right now, if you use this website address, it will send us to ours, or, the current site. But 2apa.org, it's a lot easier to remember. Actually, one of our members from out east, Will Hoffert, kind of came up with that idea and said, "Hey, did you ever check to see if that domain's available?" And oddly enough, it wasn't. So we grabbed it, and so we're doing some big things coming in the new year. But it's going to cost money, and so any nickels, dimes, big checks, whatever you can afford to send in, that money will go towards protecting the rights of Pennsylvanians and protecting Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. And I always jokingly say, we won't send you a cheap Chinese-made pocket knife.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, no doubt about that. We don't have those, but I think one thing that's going to be key with that new system too is expanding the industry partners. We need to get more of the FFLs in Pennsylvania engaged in it. We need to give them a role so they understand they're part of the fight. We need to get the sportsmen's organizations out there. There's almost 3,000 sportsmen's organizations in Pennsylvania.
Right.
We need to get them engaged in the fight and understand that without that funding, without a little bit, if everybody just puts that little bit of money into that donation bin, we can keep this fight going and win more. We can have a bigger influence on the elections. We can get the pro 2A legislators back in both sides of the aisle, which is what we need to really focus on, and have that impact on those governor elections. I mean, that is obviously a key as well. And lately the courts, I mean, look at this last election. There was a really bad conservative turnout in the election, and the judges are all very left-leaning judges now, and those are the people that are ultimately deciding where these cases go and what the government's going to be allowed to do and what not to do. And our checks and balances are at risk if we don't get a bigger hand in that play. So we've got a lot to do. There's a lot to do, and I guess it was a good time for me to retire, huh? I don't. It's a full-time job as a volunteer.
Yeah, stay healthy, Jim. Stay healthy.
Yeah, I'm working at it here, working at it. But don't you be going anywhere on me. So the board, everybody knows, everybody's very well needed. We've got a great group of volunteers, and we got to keep that moving forward, to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, absolutely. So look forward to the new year. We wish everyone a Merry Christmas and/or Happy Holidays, and hope to see you at the Bash. Hope to see you at some of the seminars that we put on. If you are at the Great American Outdoor Show, we're going to have the booth there the entire time, as we have the last couple of years. So stop by the booth and say hello. And if you'd like to get more involved and volunteer for doing some things for us, whether it's just something very small or something large, please get in contact with us so we can take advantage of that extra help, so that we can help to leave a better place for our kids whenever it's time for us to hand over the torch to the next generation.
It's the new age Pennsylvania militia. You've got to be engaged in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep in mind, we are the fourth check and balance. An armed and educated citizenry is the true fourth check and balance, ultimate check and balance of a constitutional republic, and the ultimate homeland security.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Have a good one, Jim.
All right, we'll see you, brother.